And we come now to 0 hour 30 Universal Time. In the news at this hour, Israel has rejected a Palestinian appeal for a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. Israeli officials say the offensive will continue until Palestinians free a captured Israeli soldier and stop firing rockets into Israel. The Palestinian Prime Minister called for the ceasefire as violence killed at least 7 Palestinians. The victims included a woman and her 2 children. An Israeli airstrike hit their home in Gaza City. Israel said the strike was meant to hit militants and is investigating the incident. In Afghanistan, 5 militants were killed and 4 soldiers were wounded in a clash between Taliban fighters and coalition forces. The United States led the coalition forces with the support of Afghan troops. Coalition officials say the fighting took place near the southern Afghan city of Kandahar. It was part of a campaign to remove remaining Taliban fighters from southern parts of the country. In Iraq, the United States military says 3 American soldiers have died in fighting in Al-Anbar province. An American military statement provided no details. In northern Baghdad, shelling killed 4 children and wounded 38 others. Shells killed 3 people in a Shiite area in southern Baghdad. In other news, a Sunni member of parliament asked that 15 villages surrounded by coalition forces in Diyala province receive food and medicine. An Iraqi general said troops are trying to remove resistance fighters from the area. Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad has called on Islamic countries to destroy Israel. He called for an end to the Jewish state at the opening of a meeting of Islamic nations on Saturday in the Iranian capital, Tehran. Mr. Ahmadinejad said the main problem in the Islamic world is the existence of the Jewish government. South Korea is preparing for a powerful ocean storm. Typhoon Ewinia is expected to arrive by Monday. Korea's Meteorological Administration reports that the storm is moving over the East China Sea, where it has reached the Japanese island of Okinawa. It is expected to carry heavy rains and winds into islands near the Korean peninsula on Sunday and to the mainland on Monday. Ewinia is a Micronesian name meaning storm god. The top American diplomat for North Korea says the United States supports unofficial talks between the North and China. Christopher Hill says the United States is willing to support the unofficial talks proposed by China if they help restart talks on North Korea's nuclear weapons program. Mr. Hill also says the United States could accept North Korea's repeated requests for direct talks with America, but he said such talks would only be possible within the six-nation discussions. Mr. Hill is visiting nations involved in the talks to form an answer to the North Korean tests of 7 missiles last Wednesday and Thursday. You are listening to the news in VOA Special English. The United States and Russia may be moving closer to an agreement on civilian nuclear cooperation. American officials said President Bush and Russian President Vladimir Putin will discuss a possible agreement when they meet in Russia. They are expected to talk in St. Petersburg, just before the yearly meeting of the group of 8 major industrial nations. An agreement probably would let Russia store tons of used nuclear fuel from American-supplied reactors that are in use in many nations. United States leaders have resisted such an agreement for more than 10 years. They have said that Russia first must end nuclear cooperation with Iran. The United Nations Security Council has expressed concern that continuing violence in Sudan and Chad could harm the Central African Republic. The CAR shares its northern border with Sudan to the east and Chad to the west. In June, at least 33 people were killed in clashes there between rebel groups and CAR's government forces. UN Secretary-General Kofi Annan warned on Monday that more armed groups and rebels could attempt to establish bases in the area. His report also said living conditions have grown worse and human rights violations are increasing in the Central African Republic. 2 astronauts on the American Space Shuttle Discovery have completed the first of 3 planned walks in space. British astronaut Piers Sellers and American Mike Fossum spent 7 hours outside the International Space Station. They performed duties including repair of a transport device. While outside the space station, the astronauts commented on the beauty of Earth. And at the FIFA World Cup, Germany has defeated Portugal 3-1 to win the third-place game in Stuttgart. On Sunday, France plays Italy for the World Cup championship in Berlin. And so, briefly now, here again is the major news of this hour. Israel has rejected a Palestinian appeal for a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. In Afghanistan, 5 militants were killed and 4 soldiers were wounded in a clash between Taliban fighters and coalition forces. And South Korea is preparing for Ocean Storm Ewinia. So ends the news in VOA Special English.